Hey, good morning. My name is Brenton, one of the pastors here at Refuge Church in Old Town Orange, California. We are so glad to see you. Service is about to begin in just a few minutes, but while you're waiting, grab a cup of coffee, grab another donut, get crazy. And if you're online, you can head over to the online community we have especially for you at live.refugeoc.com. It's going to be a great day, and we're glad that you're here.
If you're in middle school or high school, make sure to join us next door after worship.
For more information on Wednesday nights and upcoming events, check the link below.
Hi, I'm Pastor Nikki, and I would love to get to know you a little bit better. If you're new around here, fill out this Connect form at refugeoc.com/connect or scan this QR code. And if you have been around for a while, you can do the same and let us know how we can be praying for you.
Here at RefugeOC, we believe that community is more than just a Sunday gig, which is why we've created a resource to keep you up to date on all the events and opportunities to serve throughout the week. All you have to do is visit www.refugeoc.com/weekly.
You're still good. We're here. We're the Los Charcos parking lot.
If you're a kid, make sure you're checked in so after worship you can come and enjoy a lesson with us. If you're online, make sure you check out this link for activities, lessons, and more.
We are grateful to be part of a church that gives generously because your giving doesn't just stay here, but goes out into our community and across the world.
There are multiple ways you can participate. You can give online, on your phone, or you can mail it into a secure P.O. box.
Here at Refuge, we have been committed to telling people about Jesus. In fact, our heart and our mission ever since we began so many years ago has been to introduce and to reintroduce people to a better and clearer vision of who God is. And that starts with gatherings like this. So I want to invite you to be a part of what happens here at Refuge. It's going to be a great day.
Good morning, church. I want to invite you all to stand with me as we sing of our love for our God. You are the light. You are the light, song of my life. You always lead. You are the voice inside. You are my love. No one before you. All that I am points to you. And I was made by and I was made for you, and I am unfulfilled without full communion. You are the light, song of my life. You always lead. You are the voice inside. You are my love, no one before you. All that I am points to you, and I was made by you, and I was made for you, and I am unfulfilled without full communion. I was made, and I was made by you, and I was made for you, and I am unfulfilled without full communion. Since your love got a hold of me, since your love got a hold of me, I'm a new creation, I'm forever changed. Since your love got a hold of me, since your love got a hold of me, I'm a new creation, I'm forever changed. Yes, since your love got a hold of me, since your love got a hold of me, I'm a new creation, I'm forever changed. Since your love got a hold of me, since your love got a hold of me, I'm a new creation, I'm forever changed, and I was made by you, and I was made for you, and I am unfulfilled without full communion, and I was made by you, and I was made for you, and I am unfulfilled without full communion. In you is all I need. You're my breath, you're my life, you're my everything. In you is all I need. You're my breath, you're my life, you're my everything. In you is all I need. You're my breath, you're my life, you're my everything.
Take me back to the garden. Lead me back to the moment I heard your voice. Take me back to communion. Lead me back to the moment I saw your face. It was all so simple. It was easy to love. No space between us. It was easy to trust. 'Cause you are closer, closer than my skin. And you are in the air I'm breathing in. And here's where the dead things come back to living. I feel my heart beating again. It feels so good to know you are my friend. This is the garden. Here in this place I find you close. This is communion. Here in this place I'm fully known. It was all so simple. It was easy to love. No space between us. It was easy to trust. 'Cause you are closer, closer than my skin. And you are in the air I'm breathing in. And here's where the dead things come back to living. I feel my heart beating again. It feels so good to know you are my friend. This is where I'm meant to be. Me and you and me. Oh, I don't have to prove a thing. You've already approved of me. Oh, this is where I'm meant to be. Me and you and me. Oh, I don't have to prove a thing. You've already approved of me. Oh, this is where I'm meant to be. Me and you and me. Oh, I don't have to prove a thing. You've already approved of me. Oh, this is where I'm meant to be. Me and you and me. Oh, I don't have to prove a thing. You've already approved of me. And here's where the dead things come back to living. I feel my heart beating again. It feels so good to know you are my friend. 'Cause you are closer, closer than my skin. And you are in the air I'm breathing in. And here's where the dead things come back to living. I feel my heart beating again. It feels so good. to know you are my friend.
Love has ravished my heart and taken me over, and all I want is to be with you forever, with you forever. So pull me a little closer, take me a little deeper. I wanna know your heart, I wanna know your heart. 'Cause your love is so much sweeter than anything I've tasted. I wanna know your heart, I wanna know your heart. My heart and taking me over, and all I want is to be with you forever, with you forever. So pull me a little closer, take me a little deeper. I wanna know your heart, I wanna know your heart. 'Cause your love is so much sweeter than anything I've tasted. I wanna know your heart, I wanna know your heart. So pull me a little closer, take me a little deeper. I wanna know your heart, I wanna know your heart. 'Cause your love is so much sweeter than anything I've tasted. I wanna know your heart, I wanna know your heart. Wanna know your heart, I wanna know your heart, I wanna know your heart. Whoa, whoa, how great your love is for me. Whoa, whoa, how great is your love. Whoa, whoa, how great your love is for me. Whoa, whoa, how great is your love. Whoa, whoa, how great your love is for me. Whoa, whoa, Pull me a little closer, take me a little deeper. I wanna know your heart, I wanna know your heart. 'Cause your love is so much sweeter than anything I've tasted. I wanna know your heart, I wanna know your heart.
David was a man after God's own heart. And I love the imagery of this song that takes us to a place where we're wondering, am I that kind of a person? Does my heart have passion for what God does? Am I living that kind of a life? And I'm not here to pronounce blame or shame, but our hope every time that we gather in a church setting like this is that we turn our attention, our gaze, and our hearts towards the King. He is worth our worship. He is worth knowing. And when we get to those kinds of places, we see the world differently, everything around us differently. So let me pray over you as we continue our worship this morning. Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for the love that you have given to us, this love that we have sung about, whether we are willing to admit it or even to receive it this morning. I pray, God, that we are aware of your presence that would proclaim your love over us. Some of us have come to this place beaten and bruised from this past week and need to be reminded that our footing is sure and our place at your table is secure. But God, would you even challenge us as into the next week that we are moving and living? There are moments for each of us that we would love you better in the ways that we love those around us. Help us to be challenged to love your world so great this week in the ways that you love us. May we sense you, God, and may you be the first one to call us out into places that might seem scary, but are worth it when we step out in faith. Help us, God, to have the courage to follow you. It's in your holy name we pray. Amen. Hey, unlike typical, I'm actually going to have you take a seat if you don't mind. And I'm going to let you stand up in just about a minute, and then you're going to shake some hands. That's how things are going to go. But I want to kind of give you a heads up on something here at Refuge, and I'm going to reshape for some of you, especially those of you who have kids in the house. Kids have always been a part of the Refuge story since we started almost 7 years ago. And kids, when we keep them in for the worship time, this music time that we have on Sundays, is very important to us. It's not just something like, oh, they could easily go next door to the kids and youth building for the entire time and we could like get rid of them. And some of you are like, could we? And I'm saying no, because it's actually helpful to have kids in here for them to even see the model of you that are parents and even other adults, how it is that we worship. So we want to keep them in. And now comes the moment where we typically let them go next door. But I'm going to give you some new instructions. Our team has noticed recently that we want to continue to safeguard the lives of our kids just differently. And so we're going to change up the order. Typically, if you have been here in the past, I have said now kids and youth can go next door and everyone filters back out towards the street and next door. We're going to retrain our crowd, if you'll let me. We actually want to have our kids meet the teacher of the day right here next to the piano. They're going to head through these double doors. It's actually a quicker walk for them, easier for them to get to their classrooms that are happening next door. And just so you know, that's how things are going to begin to happen here at Refuge. Rather than having them exit out towards the street and then next door, they're going to go this way. Same for our students. It just kind of, our hope is for them to stay safer. We're going to continue to allow that gate out there to be unlocked. Currently, you can access it if you're a parent and you needed to get next door to get to your kid at any time, but it will stay closed because we want to make sure that our kids are safe inside next door. Everyone good? Feeling it? There we go. Now I said you get to stand up and say hi next. Now that, the pastor told you the hard news. Now stand up, say hello, put a smile on your face, shake someone's hand, elbow bump them, grab some more coffee. Kids, meet your teacher right here. They're going to head next door. And we'll continue our service in 1 minute. Hey, come back in and find your seats if you have some coffee, if you've said hello to those around you. I'm not sure if I said it earlier, but my name is Brenton, and I get to be one of the pastors here on the team at Refuge, and it is an honor to be on this team. I love what's happening in the life of our church here, as well as the ways that it expresses into the community of Orange and beyond. If you have a phone, this is a great time to pull it out, whether you grew up going to church where phones were allowed or not. But we want to make sure that you can have your phone out right now, because there's a few things that I want to point out to you that you could even use your phone to take it to the next level. If you want to connect with us here at Refuge, we would love for that to happen, because we love meeting new faces, learning new stories, and figuring out how we as a church can be a blessing to you. So our Connect card is the easiest way for you to jump into relationship with us. I promise you there's no strings attached, other than the fact that if you would like to grab coffee, I'd love to grab coffee with you. I love drinking that stuff, and perhaps you do as well. If you are not a coffee person, I will not shame you. It is okay. We can grab tea, we can grab a smoothie, we can grab something. We can grab water if that's what it takes. But I would love to get to know you, as well as some of our other team members would love to do the same. So you can hit to that QR code and just fill out a quick few questions and let us know that you were here today. If you're here on a regular basis, that Connect card is also for you, because it actually provides some space for you to jot down some prayer requests. And our team goes through the prayer requests on a regular weekly basis. We would love to know how we can be praying for you. Next up is, how do you know what's happening here at Refuge? And rather than passing out a bulletin that you would take, that's an old phrase for some of you who might remember church from years ago, we want to save some trees and also keep it easy for you. And so the idea for us is we want to put something in your hands, probably on your phone or your tablet or your computer, wherever you find yourself to be. And it's called the Weekly. If you go to RefugeOC.com/weekly, this is always available to you. It's updated on a weekly basis. It includes some information about things that are happening here at Refuge, and also some information about how to get connected, sign up for something, details on anything. That is the easiest place to go to. I would highly encourage you to keep that at your fingertips, maybe even bookmark it in all of your websites that you have there on your phone or your tablet. And finally, for all my regular announcements, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being the kind of church that is generous. We take an offering every single week, but not in the traditional way where we pass a bucket and you drop things in. Actually, the majority of you jump into life with us through your online giving, and this sustains us as a church on a regular basis. Many of you you've got things in your life that you're already doing on a monthly basis, things like Hulu and Disney Plus and Netflix, what have you. Just think of that as another opportunity to jump into a regular pattern of giving, where you would give towards what God is doing through Refuge here as well as around the world. And we're going to be talking in the next few weeks about things that are coming up in the horizon that we would love for you to jump in and participate with us, even through your giving. So why not even begin that relationship with us now? And so your giving goes places. There are some easy ways to give. You can give in person here today if you have a check or cash. There's actually a box on your way out the door. You can drop that in. You can also mail throughout the giving any week that you would like to a secure P.O. box, and we have that information up on the screen. But our Tidely Giving app is the easiest and safest way to give on a regular basis. And you can do that. You can even text to give, and I think there's a text number on the screen as well. But know that what comes into Refuge goes out. It doesn't just stay here. And we have regular conversations as a leadership team about how it is that God's leading us to bless the world around us, whether it be here in Orange, our county, our state, and even beyond around the world. So thank you. Thank you for that. Finally, I said that finally earlier. One more finally, and I got one more after that. So finally, I want to talk to you a little bit about partnership. Here's the deal. We are beginning a new year. It's the first month of the year. I know we only have one more day after this, but we are jumping into a season where we would love to ask you to consider being a partner at Refuge. Some churches use the phrase membership, and I want to strike that from the record. I want to get that out of your mind, because sometimes when we think about membership, it's like I'm a member of something so that organization can give me something. Instead, for us, we're reshaping the language and saying we would love for you to jump in and be a partner with us so you can partner with what God is doing through Refuge here in Orange and beyond. And so we are looking for those of you who would say, yes, I would love to jump in and be a partner. And so we're looking for some characteristics of what does a partner mean here at Refuge. And I think there is even a slide that shows 4 ways to become a partner. One is ongoing prayer for the Refuge community. You would care about us in your prayer time. Secondly, you would have regular attendance. And that we're not keeping books on that one. We're not like doing retinal scans to see if you're here or not. But we would love to see your face occasionally and often. That would be part of that. And then serving on the Refuge team as needed. Perhaps you're like, I would love to help. I'd love to help do something. I would love to be background checked and jump in to help with what's happening next door with our kids and our teens. That's the kind of stuff that we're looking for. How would you like to make Refuge better by jumping in on the life of things? And then finally, consistent financial support, being a regular part of the generosity that God is using Refuge to be a blessing all throughout the world. Why do I bring that up now? Because in about 2 months, we're going to have an annual partnership meeting, the last Sunday of the month in March. We want to gather here at Refuge, kind of share what God did this past year here at Refuge, but also give you some vision for the future about what's to come. At that meeting, we actually will vote on some new board members to participate in leadership here at Refuge, and that comes from our partnership role. And so we would love for you to jump in on that, join and become a partner, and allow what God is already doing in your life as you make Refuge your home to continue to be a blessing. So that's our hope, and that is our invite. Would you consider being a blessing, not being a blessing, would you consider being a partner with Refuge at this time? So there you go. That's that. And now, finally, the last one. When Refuge began, almost 7 years ago, we have had a very intimate relationship with Vanguard University. So many of our team members have filtered through that place. Many are graduates. Many are currently students. Like if you looked at the worship team this morning, 4 of the 6 people that were up here, 4 of the youngest people that were up here went to Vanguard. I don't know, you can choose who was the oldest. So the 4 youngest went to Vanguard. The other 2 did not, but they still like people that go to Vanguard. Anyway, but we have had this relationship where so many of our team members have come from Vanguard. It is a beautiful school just down the street in Costa Mesa. It's my alma mater for my undergraduate degree. I get to teach there from time to time, and our students have come there. But there is one team member that we have here at Refuge that has been around, I think, save me. He's probably been on our team the longest, and his name is Tim Cheney. And so, Tim, I want to invite you to come up. Tim is actually going to give the word this morning. But he came to us his freshman year at Vanguard. He had less hair at the time, and it's grown since then. He's kind of taken the Samson vow. It's kind of cool from the Old Testament, keep it as long as he can. But Tim has endeared himself to our community. He has grown and matured. He senses a call to ministry. He is wondering where God is taking him. Last month, he took this huge step in faith, and he actually proposed to a girl. And she said yes, and so cool. She's actually watching online today because she's in another state. So how you doing there, Allie? But we're excited. They're about to get married this summer, and their vision is actually to jump into ministry even beyond California in another place. And so right now, we're in a season of just love for Tim because we're so grateful for what he has put into our community, and we can't wait to see where God's taking him. But he is giving today's word. So once again, would you welcome Tim to the stage?
Thank you. I also get the pleasure of having my family and my future in-laws here. No pressure. Some of which are ministers as well. It is an honor for me to be able to preach here at Refuge today. And from the fights about age earlier, I think you guys need this one. Last week, Brenton talked about 1 Corinthians chapter 12, about how the church is a body and it has different members, and each member has its own role. Different members practice different spiritual gifts. And how we don't all need to feel the need to practice every spiritual gift. This week, in opposition to that, I'm going to talk about the one spiritual gift that everyone needs to be practicing. So I'm going to be talking about 1 Corinthians chapter 13, the love chapter. It works out pretty well. I'm planning a wedding right now, and that's the wedding verse. It's the one. I'm going to be reading out of the New English translation, which I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but it's my favorite right now. It's a change of pace. It's a thought-for-thought translation. They use lots of footnotes to explain why they translated it the way that they did. But you can feel free to read along. We allow phones here. You can read along in whatever translation that you like, but I'm going to put the New English up on the screen. And it goes like this. 1 Corinthians chapter 13. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but I do not have love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophecy and know all of the mysteries and all of the knowledge, and if I have all faith so that I can remove mountains, but I don't have love, I am nothing. If I give away everything I own, and if I give over my body in order to boast, but I do not have love, I receive no benefit. Love is patient, love is kind, love is not envious, love does not brag, it is not puffed up, it is not rude, it is not self-serving, it is not easily angered or resentful. It is not glad about injustice, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. But if there are prophecies, they will be set aside. If there are tongues, they will cease. If there is knowledge, it will be set aside. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when what is perfect comes, the partial will be set aside. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. But when I become an adult, I set aside the childish ways. For now we see in a mirror indirectly, but then we will see face to face. Now I know in part, but then I will know fully, just as I have been fully known. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. How romantic, right? It just makes you feel all warm and fuzzy. I love love. I love making people feel good, and especially those closest to me. So this is a verse that you might know by heart. So now you can sit back the whole sermon and just think about love, right? Love is patient and kind. It bears all things. Now that's one I want my fiance to hear. It bears all things. There's not really a gray area in what's being defined here. And it's really easy to get behind when we're the one receiving the love. But when we look at it the other way, it's a little bit intimidating. I like to say, you have to be kind to me. Paul said so. But it's a lot more scary to say, I have to be kind to you. Paul said so. I think it's scary to see exactly what love is. And there's no room for interpretation. It's very clear. That's heavy. Okay, so when I'm not working or reading my Bible or planning a wedding, I like to read normal books. And I didn't always like to read normal books. I actually had a learning disability, and so I never read as a kid. It wasn't until college that I actually started reading on a regular basis. Because of this, I feel like I have a lot of catching up to do. I feel like there's a lot of books I missed out on. And what this means is that you can catch me, a 23-year-old master's student, walking around reading children's books because I missed out on them. So right now I'm reading a series called The Chronicles of Narnia, and I'm sure some of you have heard of it, but Brenton suggested that it's a dated enough reference that I should explain it a bit more. So it's written by C.S. Lewis. If you don't know who C.S. Lewis is, you could talk to one of us after. It's a very symbolic series. C.S. Lewis wrote a lot of very introspective, very spiritual, and theologically sound books. And these are very spiritual and theologically sound books for kids. And they were written in the 40s and 50s, and it's classic adventure, dragons, sea monsters, talking animals. That's a big one. The talking animals is probably the most prevalent thing. And it follows the story of 4 siblings, Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy. and they get teleported. They magically end up in this place called Narnia, and they become kings and queens, and they fight evil, and they have the help of this character called Aslan. Aslan is God in this story, and he is a great, huge, beautiful, terrifying lion. And at this point in the series, I'm reading the 5th book. It's called The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. And essentially what happens in this story is the 2 youngest, Edmund and Lucy, along with their awful cousin Eustace, end up on board a ship that is setting sail into unknown seas. And just so you'd feel a little bit more like Brenton was preaching, I included a map. There we go. That can stay up there for a little while. So the ship had already set sail when they ended up on it, and it was somewhere just about where it says Great Eastern Ocean. They were just kind of in the middle of nowhere. And this character, Eustace, I'm gonna talk about him quite a bit. He was awful, especially in the beginning. We don't like Eustace. He's bullying people. He literally threw someone by their tail in the middle of a storm. He's stealing rations. He's making every dangerous situation far more dangerous. And they're in the middle of nowhere. They can't get rid of him. He wants to be off, but they can't get him off. So then they land in the Lone Islands, which is the lowest set of islands right there. That's the farthest reaches of Narnia, but it's so far away that they don't go there very often. And they find that it has been taken over by a corrupt tyrant. So they do what you do in adventure stories. They take down the tyrant, they end slavery, and they take back the land and bring peace, and everyone's happy except for Eustace. He's still trying to figure out how to get in touch with the British Council because he thinks they're still in Britain and that Parliament has power somehow. And then they set sail again, and it's a long journey to the next island, the one up there, Dragon Island, but it's not called Dragon Island yet. And everyone is working on setting up camp, but Eustace decides he doesn't want to help set up camp. He wants to go find a cave to sleep in. So he wanders off in the middle of the night, and a storm comes, and he finds himself in a dragon's cave. The dragon is dead outside, but he is now sleeping on the dragon's hoard, and he wakes up. By the way, dragons like gold and treasures and things. So he wakes up on a pile of gold the next morning. The storm has passed, but he realizes that he has been turned into a dragon. At this point, you're probably wondering how this has anything to do with 1 Corinthians. So let's come back to it. Let's go to verses 4 through 7. Paul is describing exactly what love is. It is patient, kind, not envious, doesn't brag, it's not puffed up or rude, not self-serving, not easily angered or resentful, not glad about injustice, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. And the way that he says those descriptors, it's not that love is sometimes patient, it's that love is always those things. Love isn't patient so long as love had a good day at work. Love isn't kind so long as it doesn't have a better place to be. There's no fine print on love being any of these things. It is always those things. Take it a step further. Love is always all of those things. Love doesn't choose between being truthful and being kind. That's an easy one to do. How often do we say something that is true, but we say it in a way that can't be received because we say it so unkindly? This is a little intimidating for me because I'm about to be married and I have to act this way all the time. Okay, I guess I'll try to treat my wife to be with love. But look at the verse again. Do you see anywhere that it says, husbands, this is how you need to treat your wives, or wives, this is how you treat your husbands? It doesn't say that at all. This wasn't intended to be read at your wedding and ignored the rest of your life. This is the instructions. This is how we follow the commandment, love God and love people. So I don't have to act, well, I do. I have to act that way towards my wife. But I also have to act that way towards everyone else. That's a lot of people. That's intimidating. Got heavy again. Okay, so Eustace, he's a dragon. He's in a cave. He's smoke coming out of his nose, thick scales, big talons. He's scared of his own reflection. He went looking for some time alone, and he got exactly what he was looking for. But it was exactly what he was looking for that quickly became his punishment. He realized that he needed community. He needed friends around him. He realized that being alone on an unknown island is not a place you want to be, even as a big, scary dragon. And his heart began to change, and he saw that he needed to care for people, he needed to love people well, but externally he was still a dragon. So he went back to his friends for help. Well, he went back to the people he had been with for help, because I don't know if they were his friends at this point. And he approached them, and they saw a big, scary dragon, so they tried to kill him. And eventually he was able to convince them that he wasn't this terrifying beast that needed to be killed, but he was just a scared little boy that got turned into a dragon. And they promised that they would help him. They promised that they would get rid of all of the dragon, and it would just be a boy again, but there was absolutely nothing they could do to accomplish that. So they would sit and talk to him, and they would mend those relationships, but they couldn't do anything about the fact that he was now a dragon. So one night, while everyone else was sleeping, this huge, terrifying lion approached the dragon, and he knew nothing about the lion because he still thought he was in Britain. And this lion, who we know to be Aslan, took him to a river, and he invited him to peel back the scales and to bathe in the river. And he peeled off a layer of scales, and he got in the river, and he realized there's more scales. So he peeled back another layer, and another layer, and another layer, until he realized that he couldn't get out of the situation he'd gotten himself into on his own. So he went to Aslan, the Jesus figure, and he said, I can't do this on my own. Can you help me? And Aslan said, yeah. And he took his claws, and he dug into him, and it pierced through the scales and the muscle and the bone. And Eustace was convinced it was going to kill him. He was convinced it was going to cut all the way through to his heart and that he would just die. I guess he's not a dragon anymore then. But that's not what happened. He was able to peel back the dragon skin, and he was able to just be Eustace, the boy, bathing in the river. He had to go to God, and only God's love could pierce through the scales and everything else that wasn't supposed to be there. And it hurt terribly. As you can probably tell by now, the love that Paul was talking about is not romantic love, and it's not brotherly love. And it doesn't make sense that this is used at weddings. The word used for love is agape. That's the love that God shows towards mankind. So the love that we're supposed to show towards each other and towards the world is the same love that God has for us. That's a big thing. That is an impossibly high standard. No pressure? Like, actually no pressure. This is such a big, impossible standard that you can't be it on your own. And even with help, you will not always meet this standard. God doesn't ask that we be perfect. He asks that we try and that we come to him for help. And we get better, and we practice, and we learn. The story says that after Eustace was turned into a boy and they set sail again, how he loved people was altered by the weather a lot. So if it was a clear, sunny day, he could, without second thought, just care for people well and actually, love them and have conversations with them without belittling them. But when it was raining, when there were big waves and they hadn't seen the sun in days, he would slip back into his old ways. That sounds really familiar. It's really easy on the bad days to slip back into the things we're not supposed to be doing. But there's grace, and we worship the God of love. This is agape love. It's God's love. This is not just what we are supposed to do. This is also a biography of who God is and what his character is. Our God is not rude or self-serving. He's not easily angered or glad about injustice. God's love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Another way of saying this is that God's love always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always preserves. We can't live up to the standard that has been set for us, but all he asks is that we come to him and ask for his help. The love that we're supposed to have doesn't come from inside ourselves. It's a reflection of God's love. That's what Paul was saying when he said it's a reflection. In the New English translation, it says we see in a reflection indirectly. This is actually a place that I prefer other translations, because they say we see in a mirror dimly lit. The Corinthians knew way more than any of us do about mirrors. They were actually famous throughout the world for their mirrors. And they would make these bronze mirrors, and they were perfect. Most of the time, bronze is copper and then zinc or aluminum or just something cheap to fill the space, but Corinthian bronze was copper, gold, and silver. And it was some of the most expensive material on earth at the time. It was worth far more than gold, silver, or copper alone. And these mirrors reflected almost 100% of the light. Even today, mirrors reflect almost 100% of the light. But there has never been a mirror made that could reflect 100% of the light. And they knew that better than anyone else. What does that mean? What am I getting at? We're the reflection of God's love, but we are not a perfect mirror. We don't reflect back all of the light. The church is supposed to be a reflection of God's love and God's kingdom. And we reflect that through the spiritual gifts. Like the church loved talking about the spiritual gifts, and they loved comparing their spiritual gifts. But here Paul is saying, the spiritual gifts matter now, but they don't matter in the future. Speaking in tongues is great, but it is nothing compared to being physically in the presence of God. Healing is a wonderful thing, but we will not need healing when God has put an end to pain and suffering. Prophecy is a really good thing. But why do you need to prophesy when it's already been concluded? Once the Lord's kingdom is at hand, gifts of edification will be entirely unnecessary. We will be as edified as possible. The only gift necessary is love. So how does that connect to a dragon? We all have our scales. I know I do. Eustace had scales on the outside. But unlike Eustace, our scales are on the inside. Eustace had a hard time loving anyone but himself. And that's something I can relate to in part. Like I said, I love love. I used to really love a cheap, fake kind of love. I used to love to use it transactionally. I'll tell you you have worth if you tell me I do. I'll give you a compliment if you give me a compliment, but that's not love. That's not what God intended it to be. And as God broke through that, there were times in prayer that I felt like he was tearing through the scales and the flesh and the bone, and it hurt incredibly. But it worked, and God healed. And like Eustace, there are still those cloudy, rainy, stormy days that I fall back into my old ways. I invite you to close your eyes or leave them open, sit, stand, whatever. Just lose distractions and think about this. What are your scales? What is keeping you from reflecting the love of God? For me, it was the false view of myself and caring too much about what others thought about me. For Eustace, it was pride, and there are any number of things that could be keeping you from that reflection. I encourage you to stop trying to get rid of it on your own and offer it to God. Come to your community and ask for help. So what are those scales? What is keeping you from loving well? Lord, help me to be patient and kind. Keep me from envy and pride. Protect me from being self-serving and angry and resentful. Help me to protect, trust, hope, and preserve. Help me to show that kindness to everyone I encounter. Help me to lean on you and be an accurate reflection of who you are. So we look forward to the day when our faith is no longer faith in what is unseen, when our hope in what is to come has been fulfilled, and all that remains is love.
I've carried a burden for too long on my own. I wasn't created to bear it alone. I hear your invitation to let it all go. I see it now, I'm laying it down, and I know that I need you. I run to the Father, I fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend. So I run to the Father again and again and again and again. Oh, 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 You saw my condition.
Thank you, Tim, for opening up 1 Corinthians 13 in a way that is beyond the wedding ceremony. It's this idea of unity that the Father is calling us to. Christians, for all time, since Christ first died on that cross and called followers to his name, haven't always done it great. I will admit it. If you want to have a conversation, we can talk about it. But Christians have also been an example to the world when we can love. It's the reason why the first early Christians wouldn't stand for it when their neighbors would discard babies on the outside of town. Christians are the ones that ran and got those babies and made sure they had a life. It's the reason why Christians have started hospitals all over the world. It's the reason that we care for the orphans and the lost. The love compels us. The last 2 years, the world would say it's okay to keep your scales on. It's okay to just get into your box. If someone thinks differently than you get further and further away. But the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians is saying, let the scales come down. Run to the Father. May you see your life differently, and may you love well. So love well this week, Refuge. Peace be with you. We will see you next Sunday. Hey, even those of you who have kids that went up to youth camp, I think I see some of them are beginning to show up. So you get to take them home with you. Please do not leave them here. All right. Peace be with you. Have a great week. We'll see you next Sunday at Refuge.